I'm Phil with Alpha Bowhunting, and this is our new show, To the Point.
The day.
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you, is that in Nebraska or here?
Nebraska.
If he's in Nebraska, if you guys are afraid to shoot him,
You know a guy?
I'll grab a damn tag and I'll be up
Braden,
there this weekend.
should we
if
lay
I
this
need
right
to,
here,
man.
Braden?
Yep. Well,
What do you, I know this isn't
Look
quite a
at,
mule deer, but what do you think of that right there?
Oh yeah,
dude, that's
double,
not bad.
double drop.
Look at
Oh yeah.
double drop tines.
Wow.
This buck lives right by my house. But look at how
Of course he does. Of course he does.
You
I mean, look at that.
you
It's
stalking the
basically-
backyard deer now or what?
I wish, man. No, these are
how you
just
practice?
deer that I like to.
See, you know what he's
Just
probably
like to look
doing though is that buck probably was in his hunting area and he called him all the way to his house. Here, Bucky, 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 Bucky.
I got to tell you, the Ferguson buck call is being very misunderstood because
Jason
it
tried it.
doesn't bring them in. All it does is at certain specific times it gets them to lift their head up and stop for about 3 to 5 seconds.
So you can at least get video or pictures of them.
Exactly.
Yep.
Most of
It
those
doesn't work in close range to get a shot. Instead
Well-
of bleating at him, you can't go here, Bucky, Bucky.
So the buck I shot this year, I actually snuck in on that deer and I got to 10 feet 6 days before I shot him. I mean, I was too close. Too close.
So then what happened?
So all my buddies had been in my ear, and one of them's like, I've got a friend who's a guide out on the Eastern Plains, and they kill giants every frickin' year. And he's like, dude, you're blowing too many stalks. You're waiting and you're letting the deer dictate how the whole thing ends.
The outcome's gonna end.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And he goes, here's what you got to do. You got to get up there. You got to get in place, get in position. He goes, and if I'm you, I'm getting in position at 50 yards, 60 yards, whatever. You know, he goes, for me, I want me and my clients at 20 because none of my clients can shoot a damn bow. And he goes, you want to talk about frustration and just pissing a guy off? He goes, that'll do it. But he goes, you got to get in there, get set up, get in position, draw back, and grunt. So I grunted like a deer, I mewed like a cow, I was about to squeal like a pig. I wasn't totally sure that was going to work, and in the back of my mind, the little devil on this shoulder is like, hey, Bucky, Bucky. And I almost did it, man. I almost did it. I just wussed out at the end, and I should have done it. I totally should have done it because it would have made for the best story ever.
Oh, it would have been amazing.
After 3 cow calls and 3 or 4 buck grunts, he stood up, and all I could see was his freaking neck. His neck and his head. That was all I had shot at. That was the second time that season that I'd snuck in close on deer. They stood up, and all I could see was their stinking neck.
So, those of you who are tuning in, thanks for tuning in another episode of To the Point.
You want to stay natural.
Yeah,
No,
Stay natural.
Hey, Henry's buzzing himself, but Phil Mendoza here, Bo Theory, Braden Forsyth, and we've got special guest on with us tonight, Henry Ferguson, none other than the local known hero here for being a top-notch muley hunter, man.
Well, and the guy who thought the league was on Wednesday night instead of Thursday night.
Well, we did change that this year, so you could go ahead and buzz yourself again for that one. But yeah, Henry telling us a little story of one of the stocks that he put in. So you mentioned something in your story there, and I'm going to go ahead and flip what I was going to talk about. Not to toot our own horn or beat our own chest, right? But a lot of what we've been coaching with our alpha system and our alpha programming is just that, is knowing, and I'm assuming, I know Henry a little bit, I'm assuming your two-thirds of your max distance is in that 60 to 70 yard range, I'm guessing.
You know, I haven't done your actual system on it because
You don't need our system. You're very successful.
I mean,
okay?
I've got my system that's worked for me, but yeah,
Was that
60
pretty
to 70
close?
yards, I would be more than happy with that shot every time.
So, and I've shot with you a long time, Henry, and Henry's a top-notch archer and bow hunter. And again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I can shoot my groups in a comfortable grouping out to 100 yards. Bow's the same way,
Yeah.
and it's something that what we're doing in our coaching
You
structure.
didn't mention
I'm not.
that.
And I-
Braden
No, I would
just feels
raise.
stuff.
I would raise my hand and say.
Oh, okay.
I would say
But Braden's
no, I'll
not,
just get
Braden's not
closer.
far off. But what I'm saying is, when you look at what we're coaching is really promoting that 2/3 range to know that 80 to 85% of your shot scenarios are going to be a green light within that 2/3 range and in, right?
Yeah.
And Braden thinks I left him out on purpose. I didn't leave him out on purpose. Braden he's like a little ninja that gets into 20 yards anyway. So
I just like
it's
closer.
it's
There you go.
unnecessary
There
for
you go.
Braden. He's always in the first third. But so that approach, that mindset of getting into that spot for your stock or whatever. Other people are mentioning to you 50 yards, 60 yards. What other things do you like to do, Henry? Just a couple tips. Keep it short, keep it sweet, because we are to the point here. Because I know that as guys, we can sit and bull crap all day.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
'Cause that's what we
I'm
love
the
to do.
worst.
But Henry,
That
you've
bugs
been
me.
very successfully killing mule deer for years, and if you don't mind sharing a tip or two, something that you
Okay.
kind of your go-to, or your, hey, in this situation, I know if I can do this. We already heard your story.
Yeah,
The
that
cow
didn't
mule
work
that-
for me.
Okay, so what has worked consistently for you? And maybe it's a setup
Wait 'em
thing.
out.
Wait them out.
So for me, I think mule deer hunting is perfect for me because I'm not a patient person by nature. I'm just not. I don't like waiting for stuff. If there's an early express ship option, this guy's taking it. Mule deer hunting forces me out of that, and it forces me to play the game on the mule deer strength. Because for me, I've been a lot more consistently successful when I kind of take the action to them, so to speak. And I take the action there, and I get
More
that
aggressive?
stock, and I get in place, and then I just sit down and wait. And that's where, I mean, again, mule deer hunting for me has been a good life lesson teacher, because it teaches me that I don't always have control over that situation. So that's why this year I tried
A little more aggressive.
calling, and I tried grunting, and I tried mewing, and it didn't work for me. And I don't know, maybe it's because there's too many cats in this area that I'm hunting, and it's these deer are pretty freaking wired, to be honest.
So another question to kind of, when you're looking at where you're glassing up deer, or you're ideally going to make that approach to get to where your hold them out spot is it? I mean, are you doing? Are you trying to hit an ambush spot where they're crossing? Are you trying to get to where they're going to go water? Are you just kind of learning their animal behavior and seeing where they're going to make their most common mistake?
I'm scouting,
when you're hunting?
asking? Oh, when I'm hunting.
At that go
Okay.
time.
So at go time, almost, I would say 90 to 95% of them, it's spot and stock. I'm waiting for them to be bedded before I go make a move on them. And part of that's because I hunt really open country for the most part, and if they're up and feeding, there's just a big opportunity to get picked off, in my experience.
Sure.
So
Now, if you see a buck and you know where he's headed, and you're like, hey, I think I can cut him off, are you going to try it, or are you going to let that buck
the spot
head off and then try to relocate him in his bed?
It's kind of a case by case basis. Usually I'm going to wait and go stalk them in their bed, but this year the place that from where I was glassing to where the deer were feeding, there wasn't I'm going to try to get there before him. I mean, I'm a mile and a half, 2 miles away.
Sure.
So I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
You're not catching up.
I'm not going to catch up to him. It's down a steep slope and up another one. So it just doesn't. I mean, for me, I want to have the opportunity to see where they're going to bed and assess. Can I get there now before they shift to their second bed?
I say,
Do I need to wait?
What do you do for that timing? Is it just a case by case?
It's totally a case by case.
Bed
Sometimes,
second time or bed the first time? Or?
yeah. So for example, the buck I shot this year, I spotted him. He was the first deer I spotted that morning. Was out there with my son, and literally right after first light, I kind of took a big sweep through this main valley, didn't see anything right off the bat. Looked on this other slope, bam, there's a buck, big tall buck, and I mean it's the deer I ended up shooting. But anyway, he was a number 2 buck on my list, and when I saw him, he basically went in and he fed until like 8:30, 8:45 that morning. So I mean he was up feeding quite a bit and fairly late. And then when he did bed down, I immediately told my son, I'm like, he's not going to stay there all day. There's just no way he's going to stay there all day. There wasn't enough shade. He was bedded in some buckbrush, but he was bedded right at the edge of it. I'm like, he's going to lose shade real soon. So we sat tight and we watched him till 11:30. And so from 8:45 till 11:30, all we're doing is sitting there killing time, watching this buck and waiting for him, and he never moved. I'm like, you know what? I honestly don't think he's going to move at this point. So we just went over and made a play on him, and as it turned out, he was still there at 2 o'clock by the time we got in position, got up above him, and made it happen.
I've got a couple more questions, and great talking with you first, because Braden and I sit on the mountain sometime this year in particular where we were not glassing up a lot of bucks. We were not seeing a lot of deer in general, right? Up high where we were at, super dry, tons of hiking pressure, recreational pressure.
Yes, welcome to Colorado.
Right? And so it was something that we were trying to evaluate a ton of things. So first question, on an average year, I know you travel a lot for work, busy guy, family, kids. How many times do you think you get out and scout preseason?
It's over 20.
Okay.
But
Is it day
usually,
trips though, or?
Oh yeah, almost always
Okay.
day trips. Yeah, and if I can grab a long weekend or something, great. But man, I don't know about everybody else, but a long weekend outside of hunting season,
It's tough.
They
it's
don't
like
exist very much.
yeah, it's like hunting for unicorns, man. I mean, it's just doesn't exist. I mean, my son's got something, my wife's got something, I've got something. You've just got to be smart with the time that you have and make the absolute most of it.
So next question, what type of glassing system do you use for scouting? Are you using a spotter 10 by combo, or are you using some 15? What's your go-to for that?
So I've got a pair of 8x30 Swarovski SLCs that I inherited years ago, and those are always with me, and I'll do a quick pass with those. And I mean, I can spot stuff, I can spot movement, I can spot animals with those from a really long ways away. But almost all of my real true glassing spotting is done with the 15s. And I mean, the 15s they're like borderline cheating in my opinion, because you can just see so much. Your eyes are relaxed. It's not like squinting looking through a spotter. It's the ultimate in my opinion. I mean, I'll bet 80% of the animals I spotted this year were through the 15s. And then the spotter doesn't come out until it's fine tuning, really dialing in and saying, hey, which buck is this, or
So if you had essentially, if you could only, say you could only afford one thing, you would say,
I would have the 8s, the 15s, and the spotter. Yeah,
Yeah, you'd have
just that one thing. They each serve an important purpose.
It's like a tool in the toolbox, right?
It absolutely
They each
is.
have their place.
And the funny thing is, I'm gonna sound like a complete moron when I say this, but if I had to drop one thing out of the system, it would be the 15s. Because oh yeah, I mean, you could, if you had a good pair of 10s, 11s, 12s, as long as you're mounting them on a tripod, you're going to get basically the same thing.
Let me ask you that same question now. Now, I'm not saying you don't. Let's say you're packing in for a 5 to 7 day hunt. Now answer that same question. Are you still dropping the 15s?
I'll tell you what.
You're going to take the weight penalty of the spotter?
I'm going to take them. I'm taking them all, because first of all, for mule deer, I've been pretty fortunate. I've shot a few good bucks. I'm looking for that next level buck. I'm not looking for just a buck. I'm looking for really good bucks, and I want to be able to study them. I want to be able to break them down and say, because if you're looking from 2 miles away through binoculars, 160-inch buck and 185-inch buck are going to look pretty darn similar.
So then one last question, and then actually we're gonna, if you got time, since you were planning on being here for league anyway, we'll carry you
As
over.
it turns out,
on,
I do.
on the next episode. But one last question: is it an age class deer you're looking for, or is it an inch deer you're looking for?
So,
inch size.
That's a good question, because and it's changed a little bit recently. In the past, it was pretty much inches, but I was a guy who was pretty good at spotting good deer throughout the summer, and then killing those big deer is, man, it's tough. That's next
Seeing them
level
and killing
stuff.
them is two
Right.
totally different things.
It absolutely is, and I'm pretty good at. I'm honest enough with myself to know that I'm pretty good at finding them. Killing those big deer has been a challenge for me, and this year was an especially a big challenge. But I want the most mature buck I can find, and that's why this buck this year. That's why he was number 2 on my list. I mean, he wasn't the second biggest buck out there by any means. I mean, I had opportunities at bigger deer, but this deer was old. He
He'd
was
been
mature.
on the mountain. He'd been through all the cats you talked about.
Pretty sure I've got a shed from him from 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and it was a big shed. So I mean, this buck was probably better last year than he was this year. But yeah, I just wanted that mature buck. I wanted to
It's
match wits with him, you know.
that's the thing, that extra year that they have on the hoof that just makes them that much more, aware and keen to everything around them. So like
Every
you said,
year matters there.
adding that level of challenge is tough because
Well, think about the difference between you in your 20s and you in your 30s.
there's no difference, man.
Okay. Let's ask his wife that.
No, I
Now
hear you.
think about the difference between 30s and 40s. I mean, there's these exponential differences and changes that you go through there, and so it's important to. And I mean, if you look at a mule deer, their life expectancy 8 to 10 years without.
That's on the
us
high end,
chasing
isn't it?
them. That's on the extreme high end.
Yeah.
I'm actually sending the jaw out from this buck. I'm
Cool.
gonna get an
Oh, cool.
age, so this is the first time I've ever done that, but it's the first time I've shot a deer that I felt was probably a grandpa too. So
That's cool, man.
it'll be interesting to see what it comes back at.
So Henry, I appreciate the discussion. Like I said, these are some of the discussions that we have regularly behind the scenes at the shop, and that's why us doing more of this is what helps us to create some parameters and organize a few things. Talking to guys like Henry and their experiences and putting together that system that we're trying to help, new to and I don't want to say even experienced bow hunters. The different perspective can help anybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So on the coaching side, it really helps out a lot. Talking with guys like Henry is just fun to hear the stories anyway, and be able to put that into context with what we do on the coaching side really helps. So Henry, where on Instagram, Facebook, where can people kind of follow you at with your experiences?
My personal page is Big Chief Wackabuck on Instagram.
How did that name come about?
Well, I'm 1/16th Cherokee, like about 90% of the population. So,
There you go.
yeah, so just kind of a goofy nickname that stuck, and I had to come up with a name for my Instagram handle.
I like it.
I could have gone, like Henry Ferguson, but I mean, come on,
Yeah.
It's not very unique.
That's all American right there,
Exactly.
man.
I mean, so, and then we also have another page called Not Fit to Hunt.
Yeah.
And that we do, we started as doing more tips and tactics and stuff like that, but it's really just kind of turned into a couple of chubby guys making fun of themselves, having a little fun.
And those videos on YouTube.
Yep.
So check
Got some
those
videos
out.
on YouTube, and we're getting ready to throw some more up there.
Cool.
In fact, I think we're going to do kind of our blooper reel from the last couple of years, because
I'd like to see that.
that's all we really have.
Yeah, it's tough,
So-
man. Bringing that camera in the field is always it's if you haven't done it, I just encourage you to.
Not.
Well, it depends, right? Either don't and save yourself the frustration, aggravation.
Yeah.
There is that token moment where you get something really cool.
Yeah.
Like when I got to get Braden's video on film, that was
That
cool.
was pretty awesome. Yeah.
But other than that, I've had a whole bunch of unsuccessful outings with a camera in my hand.
Yeah.
You
So,
and me both.
yeah, man,
You
it's
and me
tough.
both.
So kudos to those guys that make it happen. Thanks for checking out this episode, and Henry for joining in. And stay tuned for the next one. But remember, with the bow giveaway we have going on, up until right before Christmas time, comment on these YouTube videos, and you're going to get in the running for it. So check you guys on the next one.